let's go into your history, because like 4 years ago, did you have in mind that you would be a 4-time Argentine national champion?
No, I honestly didn't even think I was going to be racing bikes 4 years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been racing bikes for a really long time, since I was 14 through the high school program in NorCal. And, you know, that at that time, that was the most competitive series you had. If you were winning those races, you were winning nationals, you were racing at World Cup level. And, you know, once I ended that, I was a little bit tired. It was just a little bit too much for me. So then I went to college in Durango, Colorado, where for the next 4 years, I was just like, I'm going to learn how to ride a bike. I'm going to try road racing. I did cyclocross, tried a little bit of downhill, even BMX, just everything.
Yeah.
And then it was in the fall, I think it was November 2015, I got approached by my coach, Carmen Small, one day at our local, like, Wednesday cyclocross practice. And she was like, hey, like, who's your coach? And I was like, oh, I don't have a coach. Like, I work 20 hours a week. I go to school full time. Like, I just can't pay a coach. And she was like, let's talk. Like, I want to coach you. And I was like, okay. And I remember talking to Keegan. I was like, I think she wants to coach me so I don't beat her at her cross races. You know, like, I just had no idea, did not know her. You know, she's been a world champion, you know, and I think she's got a bronze at individual time trial worlds as well.
Yeah, she's an impressive athlete.
Yeah, she's an amazing woman, and she just knows so much. And I remember in our meeting, she was like, I have a 4-year plan. We're going to get you to the Olympics. And I was like, you're crazy. You know, like, this is not going to happen at all. And, you know, sure enough, year to year, you know, the first year I was like barely getting UCI points, and then I was cracking the top 15, and then the next year the top 10, and now I'm like fighting for podiums and wins. So it's been a really interesting kind of like 4-year progression, and not anything that I expected.
It's had to require patience, I'm sure. Like, you know, because a lot of us, like us average Joes, we pick up cycling, and then we're like, all right, this year we're going to go do, and we put down some huge goal, like we're just going to get it done. Did you have to, like, how have you managed that part of it? Being okay with not winning instantly, that sort of a thing, as you've been building up through it? Or was it just natural because that was the progression you took?
I mean, I think part of it, like genetics, I am slightly gifted, and that endurance has always come pretty easy for me and my siblings.
Yeah.
But I didn't start and I was like, I'm going to be national champion, or I'm going to be winning a pro XCT, or I'm going to be doing this and that. I was like, I'm just going to race my bike and we'll see how it goes and see where I can take. You know, one of my biggest goals is to pay my student loans with bike racing money.
Yeah.
So, like, that was my goal. I was like, it might take like 10 years, and I think now I'm closer to like 4. Yeah, it's even this year, like, I don't expect to win. I think I'm still developing. I still have a lot. I still need to grow quite a bit, and most importantly, I need to learn a little bit more on how to actually race a bike race.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about strategy today, a lot of it. Because can we just go straight into Cape Epic?
I want to ask first. So, being the 4-time national champ, is the Olympics like set for you? Could they choose? Like, how?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to Olympics?
It's not set yet. I think it's more than likely that we are going to, as the women, we're going to qualify one spot for the Olympics. And actually, the Thursday before national champs, I got how they're going to select who goes to the Olympics, and it's 3 things that they look at. 30% of it was based on a result on Sunday. So if you got first place, you got 0.33 points. If you got second, 0.66, and so on. So like right now,
you got it.
Yep. So I'm like the lowest. So I'm like currently leading, kind of.
Nice.
Oh my God. And then 40% of it is going to be at Pan Am's next year, which is going to be in April in Argentina.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And then the other part, the 30%, is how many points you gave the country to qualify a spot for the Olympics.
And are those UCI points?
Yes, they're going to be UCI points. And believe it or not, out of the top 3 that were getting points, I am the lowest. And that really has to do with the fact that in the U.S., the level is just so high. You know, you're racing current world champions, past Olympic medalist, world medalist, and everything. So for me to be able to get on a podium here, it's like really, really hard.
Yeah.
Where in South America, most of the girls can go and they're guaranteed a top 3. So that's something I need to start looking into. How do I get more points just in case anything happens at Pan Am's?
Yeah.
But yeah, to even be talking about maybe going to the Olympics is just,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy.
So that's in 2020.
2020 in
Yep.
Tokyo.
In what month is it? Since summer, right? Like
Olympics?
Yeah,
They're actually in September.
September.
Yep.
So that's a perfect stepping stone for Cape Epic,
Exactly.
which I know is your true A race
Yep.
in
We should
2021.
explain if people
Yes.
are just listening to the podcast. It kind of came out, I think that, Sophia, you pitched the idea, didn't you?
Yeah, I think we were at Benelli or something, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, Nate has this crazy idea. He wants to do Cape Epic, and I'm not going to do it. And I was like, this one friend from Argentina that I have, her and her partner did it in the partner race, and they won. And I was like, she did it. She won. Like, I can do it too, I think, like post-Olympic year. Like, why not? And
Yeah.
then you shared it in the podcast. And last night I was chatting with my coach, and I was like, oh, by the way, I should just let you know I kind of signed myself up for 2021 Cape Epic. And she was like, oh, great, maybe I'll come too. I was like, oh, okay, good.
good.
We're good. So we're clear.
Good. So you're committed now on the podcast.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So you're going to do Coed team, you two.
Yep.
Cape Epic 2021.
Yep.
Which you're not counting or anything, like 627 days away, right?
Exactly. It is
Yeah,
exactly
got it,
627 days. Chad, first question. Is it too early to taper?
No, it's definitely too early to start training. I'm going to wait till about 27 days out, I think. So I got 600 days to kill.
Because Chad's doing it too.
Oh, yeah, you're
Pete.
doing it too.
Chad and
With
Pete are doing it, yeah.
Pete.
That doesn't even matter. You guys will do great. Okay. First thing, I got a lot of questions because we haven't really talked about this, maybe a little bit with text.
Yeah.
But we haven't gone deep.
Yeah.
You know you're way faster than me, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
We've never ridden together.
You're
I have
faster.
I have
You're
a lot
faster.
of so mountain biking, 100%. If we're in a crit, maybe I'll give you a run for your money. But in Cape Epic, so can you talk about power to weight ratio, or is that secret for you? It's fine if it's secret.
To be honest, I don't really keep track of it. FTP, sea level, we're looking at 250-ish. Weight will range anywhere between 115 to like 123. So I don't pay attention to those numbers too much.
I believe before you're like, someone do the math, but like 4.7, 4.8 watts per kilo?
Yeah.
Right?
High fours
Yep.
to 5. Yeah, close to 5.
And I'm like 4.1. So
when
my
things
FTP
go uphill.
it's going to be harder for me.
Yep.
I think
4.6.
probably right now I'm 193.50 FTP. I'm going to do a ramp test Tuesday if I don't get any problems.
190 weight, 350
Yeah.
FTP.
So 100 watts higher, which would be nice on the flats, but on the hills, you can push me.
And also, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but Nate's tall. He's 6'6", in fact. We should share that. That detail has never been shared on the podcast before. But so he's a heck of a draft, too.
How tall are you?
5'5" on a good day.
Yeah. So that's like, it kind of actually helps in that regard. Since you have the higher threshold, but then you give a good draft, that sort of a thing on the flats, that can be a huge help.
Yeah, and then on the descending, you're fast. I saw on some of the races, you were like right where Jonathan was.
Yeah, she's really fast.
So that will have to be, I know the descents aren't technical, right, at Cape Epic. Have you done any research?
I've talked to people about it, and they just say the first 3 days there's not really any single track.
Yeah, it's just like double track fast descents, right? Mm-hmm. So I've got a whole plan of going North Star every Friday, getting lessons. Lee McCormick's coming back to Reno.
He is.
The shred shaman.
Yes, we're going to have another podcast with him for sure.
Cool.
Anytime to have him on is an awesome one.
Yeah. So anyways, I just, I'm going to do my best. I got a 2-year plan. Chad's going to help. But by the way, Chad, so I need to get up to 4.8 watts per kilo over 2 years. My volume right now, if I'm consistent, 8 hours a week. I think what I need to do is just add total volume over that time.
Most
right?
likely, because you've already got a fair amount of intensity in there. So just heaping intensity on top of intensity as a Band-Aid for greater watts usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
What kind of step over 2 years would you have someone do if they want to add that much volume? And two, I think I'm going to need more volume because it's going to be 7 or 8 days?
It's 8 days.
I should know this.
I think
Yeah.
it's 8 days. And you're probably out on course for anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours, I think, a day, depending. So it's a lot of volume that you
It
have to
depends how we want to compose it and how we want to address what we think is limiting you. Whether or not you can push your VO2 max higher, and I think you can. I don't think you're going to lose any substantial weight, so that won't even factor into it. And your muscle endurance is pretty much topped off. So I think you're going to have to improve your VO2 max, and the way you go about it is probably going to mean greater mileage, greater volume. So I'd like to push you up to something like 12 to 14 hours, but that's maybe a 2-year trajectory, depending, because you had just basically life's obligations. It's not that you couldn't handle that bump in volume in the first year. I just don't know how you're going to accommodate it on top of everything else you have to do.
TrainerRoad's not being worked on. Like it's half days all day for like 2 years.
Yeah, well, in that case, let's go for 20 hours.
Yeah.
Right
Sorry,
out of the gate.
everybody. We got a good team here. They can all take it over.
Yeah.
Next one, partner pacing strategy. So there's two parts of pacing. One is riding a partner race, right? Where we're together. Have you done that before?
No, actually.
Neither have I.
Neither
Good.
way.
Perfect.
We have to be within a certain distance of each other, right?
Yeah. It's the
It's
timing.
like a minute or something.
Yeah, I think that so the person that crosses the line last out of the duo, that's where the time gets counted, but you also can't be separated by too much.
Yeah, you're
time.
tethered, right? By a
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think
sure what
it's a
the
minute
exact
or
buffer
something.
is.
Yeah, I think
It's
so
like
too.
a minute. Yeah. So it's not like Sophia can just like jet away from Nate, or Nate can
just
jet
wait.
away from Sophia, and then just, hey, do your best.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't work that way.
So for strategies, obviously on the flats, I should never drop you, right? Because you're going to get a draft.
Please correct. Yeah.
On a climb, if it's a headwind, please get in front of me and sit up as much as you can, right? Because that will make it easier for me.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about on the descents, and this is for everyone who descends with someone better than them. When I descend with Jonathan, and he's got Jonathan speed, and then he's got like chill speed. And when you do chill speed, I go almost twice as fast because I can follow all of your lines. Rather than if you just take off, right, as hard as you can. And then sometimes I look for the tire in the dirt, but it really helps.
Yeah.
And I'll get faster, I swear.
And I think a faster rider, when they ride at that chill speed, like you said, they're able to pick a lot smoother lines. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed that too. Like when you slow it down a bit, it's really amazing how you can break something down. When you go race pace, it's just kind of like you aim for the best line, but you kind of take whatever comes at you. So I feel like if you were doing that sort of thing, and if Sophia's descending at 70%, something like that, 80%, then that would allow you'd be taking really good lines then, because it's like so below that threshold of speed that you would have on a descent.
And these are only in the single track sections. And the previous years, it's like for the whole stage, it'd be like 2K. Everything else is just let it fly.
Oh yeah.
And I might even pass you on the descent.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's funny. I've thought that on the flats or on like the false flats, it's kind of like where I'm going to really be in the hurt box. Just because you can push bigger watts, and I mean, you are bigger and all that stuff, but that false flat climbing, I'm a tiny person, and if there's a lot of sand, or if it requires
surface.
like a lot of power, like that's when I'm in trouble. And something, I was talking to my friend and her partner that won the race, and he was like, the hardest thing is whoever is the faster rider needs to learn how to race at the speed of the slower rider. Because you just race differently, and the way you take lines might be differently. And you're like, okay, in this section, like normally I would stand up, but my partner is sitting down, so I need to know how can I put the power down while I'm sitting down and not lose traction. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and I think we need to do a little camp at some point, both of us.
No, we do.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's going to be different because our bodies are so different. And we might have the highest height discrepancy and weight discrepancy in the race.
Probably.
Right? Between the two of
Right.
us. Different points where on the flats, I will be probably the faster rider, but on all the climbs and descents, you'll be the faster rider. So it's not just – because a lot of times you see these the Coed, and it's like a pro UCI guy and then a pro woman.
Yeah.
And the guy's probably faster in all situations, right?
Yep.
And
Right.
the guy pushes the woman up on the climbs and stuff,
Yeah.
which I hope you can do to me. I'm okay if there's a picture on the internet of Sophia pushing me up the hill with one hand on my back.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm like head bobbing.
It's going to be super interesting to see. What about, you mentioned just looking outside of the pacing side of things, but nutrition side of things,
Yeah.
and then everything else that comes with it. Like, are you guys planning on bringing like a team of people?
Okay. So
Are you
we haven't
planning
talked
on-
about this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just letting him do all the planning. I'm just showing up.
Well, okay. But so for Cape Epic, there are two options. Sleep in tents or pay a little bit more money, get shuttled to a hotel with your own Swanee and masseuse. We're doing the masseuse in the hotel.
Obviously.
You too, Chad. I think you can get a group of people and you can get together and
cool.
it's all one shuttle and
Nice.
stuff, and that'll be fun.
Sounds really good.
For nutrition, how are you gonna? I haven't done I think I finished a long multi-day stage race because I broke my bike
At Single Track 6.
Yeah. So how do you manage? You've done stage races, obviously.
Yep.
I know you just won one, didn't you?
Yeah, Missoula.
Yeah.
My first Pro CT win.
How do you handle nutrition, like on the bike and through like the multiple days of recovery and keep eating so that you stay energy
Topped off.
topped off.
Yeah, I mean, I think breakfast is always really important. Just making sure you're going to have enough carbs to get the day started. And I think during the race, it's like you just have to keep eating even when you don't want to eat. It's kind of like forcing yourself. And even after the race is done, it's like eat.
I noticed this when I was staying with you in Soho, or in Utah for the Soho Bike Fest. Like everyone, we sat down after it was late nights. Like we would get back to the house, and I would be sitting there recovering, and then everyone else would be eating, and I'm like, I'm doing it wrong. Like all of you, because it was a house full of athletes. Like all of you were eating, late at night, post race, that sort of a thing, and you were taking whether it was like cereal mixed with some fruit or something, or it was like oatmeal with something else. You're bringing in carbs, late at night before in the middle of those races, and that's something that's honestly hard if you've done what you just talked about. Ate a sufficient breakfast, make sure you ate throughout the day, make sure you ate well enough throughout the race. The last thing you feel like doing is eating more, but it's like exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, stagers just have to be good at eating.
Oh yeah, it's like a total part of the race.
Yeah, it sounds like such an automatic and such an easy thing to accomplish, but man, it's just not.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think you
hard.
can leave with a calorie, like be positive. I think no matter how much you eat, you're going to be in the negative.
It's hard. Man can eat.
I'm 6 watts per kilo for eating. What's the article? Was it Cycling Tips? We just talked about the ground.
Great article.
Yeah, the pro. So if you
For
I don't even-
Mitchelton Scott,
Yeah.
they followed their team, and they basically looked at, I believe it was during the Giro,
Yeah.
they looked at what they ate, and they broke it down in terms of carbohydrates too, per body weight, which is the interesting thing, and kind of what you want to, if you're going to have a goal and you don't really know where to start and what to eat and how much to eat, this is kind of like a benchmark where you can see where these guys eat, and they're pros
Eat a
at eating.
ton.
So our kilojoules won't be as much as them, but pretty close actually to those stages, especially with being mountain biking.
Yeah, I mean, you burn so much more on a mountain bike. We don't have a way of quantifying it, right?
Yeah.
But you sure feel it. Like, like the KJs that you get when you go do a 4-hour road ride compared to a 4-hour mountain bike ride, it's like a totally different experience, even if it's the same values from your power meter.
So what they saw is that on the flat stages, like the early in the Tour or in the Giro, and it's all flat, and probably everyone who's listening can hang until the last 10K, right? It's just a draft. They're doing hundreds of like under 200 watts.
Right.
They were doing 6 watts or 6 grams per kilogram of body weight for carbs.
Yep.
That's their low end.
It's enormous.
That's probably more than most people, right?
That's
a lot.
It's hard to do.
I don't know if you're able to do this on the spot, Nate, but can you kind of give us an idea of how much like food that would be? Like let's just say oatmeal or something like that,
Oh, how much oatmeal that would be? So 1 cup of oatmeal is 100 grams of carbs. So like of dry, not
Right.
So that makes 3 cups of like
Of
wet.
actual what you're gonna eat.
So it's so whatever that is times 6 if you're
Yeah, you're not going to
100
get there.
kilograms.
You're not going to get there eating oatmeal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
It's a lot, yeah.
gonna have to
Oatmeal's
be
not dense enough,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's got to be more.
So on the mountain stages and the harder stages, they would
Calorie-dense.
eat between like 10 and 14
Oh my god.
grams of carbs.
And we've
per-
seen 10 before as a high end of things for athletes, high level endurance athletes, but pushing up to 14 and then only coming down to 6 grams
Amazing.
per kg per day.
Yeah. So what they said too, that like cycling carbs, 6 is their low end, which is probably more than everyone else.
Yes.
Right?
It's way more than us average Joes eat, I bet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you hear about them like cycling their carbs or only training or fueling for the work required,
It's still a huge amount of
yes, a
carbohydrate.
huge amount.
And
Instead
they're
of
just
14.
cycling lower than, or they're at a way
It's all
higher
relative.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've only
long
done,
days.
I think on my max I've hit at Leadville was 9.
And that
And
was, we've talked
that
about
was
that before on the
brutal.
podcast. It was a sad sight to even
It's
behold.
horrifying. Yeah. Just cramming that much food into a
But
body.
when we
even a
do it
body
too,
that
though,
size.
I don't know how we have to figure out what food we can bring for ourselves. I might bring a suitcase just of food, right, of dry food.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Like a 90-liter duffel.
Yeah, exactly. Bag that
but we
way
need
full.
I can do 70 pounds on United, so
There we go. That's the
all gels.
benchmark.
it needs to be though like scientific food or junk food a little bit, because if you try to do it through apples and sweet potatoes
exactly
and
what I
brown
was-
rice,
That's what I was getting at with the oatmeal.
yeah, your stomach can't fit that much. So how do you work on that? Do you do scientific food, or are you trying to do like whole food or juice?
A little bit. Like, are you talking like outside of the race?
Yeah, outside the race.
Just different things. I can't eat the same thing all the time, aside from pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes.
Yeah,
Best.
it's kind of just different. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, give me candy. Like, I know it's junk food, but at the end of the day, it has the sugars, and it's just more calories than I can get in my body.
I'm going to suspend all my like anti-cancer eating, all that sort of stuff for those 8 days and just go pure,
it's a short-term
pure
fix.
calories. Yeah.
Short term.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to, because the other thing too, when you look at this, like, and we noticed this when we did single track 6. You've noticed this, I'm sure, when you've done any stage race you've done, like at Missoula and everything else. Even though you may feel okay, like going in day to day, there is residual fatigue, and it kind of like you notice it in weird ways. Like I noticed it in just like my mind wasn't as sharp, right? And I probably wasn't eating enough, and if I was eating more, maybe I would have been sharper. It's just really hard to keep everything topped off during those stage races, especially one like this. This is big.
This is big. What about in the stage race pacing? Like, do you go all out every day? Or do you try to go like 90% every day until the last 3 days or something like that?
You know, I think it's going to be, you kind of have to see what your competition is. And I mean, I think our game plan is we're going to go win. Like, we're not
Heck yeah.
going to go to do anything else. But, you know, I've known people that have gone to that race and chosen these are the 3 stages that we're going to go really hard. And then the rest, we're going to, you know, tone it back. In the partner race, it's especially when it's co-ed, it's a lot different just because the discrepancy between team to team is pretty big. Where in the elite fields, it's pretty much almost like a level playing field where they go really hard for an hour and a half, and then once they drop everyone, then they bring it back down. But I think that sometimes, maybe taking one day a little bit easier or just playing in the defense if you are in the GC lead is the smart call rather than just like, let's just get as much time as possible each stage because you need to figure out how to put in recovery in there. Yeah,
you're not going to be equally good every day if that's your strategy. It's going to go downhill, you know, if you go.
And you got to account for like things that go wrong. Like, you know, you could get sick, you could break your bike, you could break a chain, you could flat, you could just do all these things that are so outside of your control.
They have really, really good coverage, better than the Tour de France coverage, I think, of Cape Epic on YouTube.
It's really impressive.
They have someone in the, they have 2 riders with e-bikes behind the men's pack and the women's pack with a camera that they stream out. So you can watch like a camera inside it's a teeny peloton of like 10 people.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. The surprising thing for me is that how many mechanicals happen for the pros, like a lot of flat tires and just chain issues.
I think, you know, can I chime in on why I think that is too? Yeah. It's very different when you're following close on somebody and it's dusty or something else like that. It's so easy for these really skilled riders just to miss that rock in that scenario or miss that whatever else it is. So when you see like a lot of these people getting flats and mechanicals, remember the fact that they're trying to draft because they're going so fast.
In low visibility.
In low visibility. So it's really easy to make those mistakes. I'm sure you've realized that if you've ever ridden gravel or any sort of mountain biking. You can ride really close to a person, but that's a skill in and of itself. And there's inherent risk that you just can't get rid of when you do that.
And how many crashes there were. That's the second one. Like, I don't know, they're crashing on double track, which kind of gives me a little bit of worry.
For the same reasons, you think?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Reasons,
Couple that with probably the fatigue from a stage race and everything else.
Well, and you're not pre-riding these courses, so you're totally blind every day.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I've already booked my ticket to South Africa for this other event 1 year ahead. So I'm going to try to do as much as the course as I can.
They don't change the course anymore?
I don't know. But I'm guessing, so I don't know any of this stuff, but I'm guessing they use some of the same roads, right? Probably not the exact same course, but the tricky stuff in the area.
You're going to pre-ride all 7 days?
No. But you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
The hard parts I can try to
Cape
pre-ride.
Epic organizers, reach out to us to let us know if that's correct. If you have any beta on the course, we'll take that too. The other thing you're going to do on kits, because I think you guys, I don't know if you have to have matching kits, but you should have something close to matching.
I think so.
I mean, you can't wear the Argentine national champion jersey, but you're not, in fact, from Argentina.
I cannot?
No, you should not. But white kits, right?
Yeah, because heat's a huge issue, right?
Yep, I struggle with heat quite a bit too. So
Yep.
I think I'm going to need to figure out a good protocol for heat adaptation for that.
Other thing I just wrote down yesterday, my goal this week is for us to buy a sauna for the office.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Cool.
A little infrared sauna we can put in the workout room.
You just
And-
need to move to Reno. Then you have access to the sauna.
I know, although we are looking at buying one for the house.
That's what I was going to
Sweet.
say. They're
Yeah.
they're not that expensive. They're really not.
Yeah. They really aren't. The small ones aren't too bad.
How early do you think we should get to South Africa?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's so hard because being at home is so nice.
Yeah.
And being in the U.S., you're kind of accustomed to having all these things. And over there, things are very different. So you kind of have to get there early enough to kick the jet lag and adapt to the heat a little bit more. But I think maybe like a week and a half.
A week and a half ahead?
2.
That's awesome. 2 weeks?
Because you're used to.
I have a family.
I know, right?
Because you're used to, I mean, that, bi-hemispheric travel where you're going from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere for Argentina.
Yeah, but never, South Africa, it's a long travel.
Yeah, because the time change is basically East Coast to West Coast, a little bit different when you go Argentina to back to
Correct.
Utah. But so you have time change on top of season change on top of everything else that you have. So.
Yeah, it's not quite opposite, but it's pretty close to opposite. So
Yeah. Wow.
I'm worried about, I get a boost so you live too at 4,200 feet or something like that.
55.
55. I get a boost when I go down to sea level, and I don't want to wait too long there where then I lose my extra hematocrit and stuff.
Your performance level will still be the same in terms of your power will increase and you'll be able to do that. But you do have that hematocrit boost temporarily that you have, which is pretty nice. Legal EPO, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Good thing we have 627 days to figure it out.